Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. For this episode, we have a lot to discuss. We're going to talk about some of the more disappointing teams this season. Unfortunately, there's a few, but I would say the most disappointing, in my opinion, are three. And I'll get to those later, but let's just start with a couple of little news and notes from last night and then looking forward to tonight in the NBA. First off, congratulations to the Cleveland Cavaliers on March 11th. Very early on in the season, they already clinched the Central Division. Speaking of the Central Division, I want to talk about the Indiana-Milwaukee matchup real quick. So, you're up 3 points when you're Milwaukee. At this point, Giannis would dangerously contest Halliburton, and really for no reason, because he was out of position on the contest anyway. And he would foul him and give him an and one and give him a 4-point play that would win Indiana the game. So I want to say, some people like Reggie Miller, well, I don't really know why Giannis was in the game at this point. Well, Giannis is a former defensive player of the year. He's one of your best defenders. Of course, he's going to be in a late game, get a stop situation. But here's the thing, as the coach, as Doc Rivers, you have to tell your guys and you have to let them know, you have to be contest without fouling. So on these contests, let's not lunge, let's not jump. If you're out of position like that, get there and put your hand up. And don't jump, and show them that don't jump into him, and how Halliburton was heading to the ground anyway. Any little movement or bump was going to be a foul. Just a really bad play from Milwaukee, and even worse, just play on court awareness from Giannis. And you don't see that from him. He's pretty smart, pretty high IQ player, winner in my opinion, most definitely a winner. And you don't see plays like that. But so I want to say that's not just on Giannis. That comes from coaching, and if I'm coaching, contest without fouling. Contest with your hand, don't jump, sure in fact don't lunge, and if you're out of position like that, just let him go. It's better to have him tie it and give you a shot to win the game or go to overtime instead of give them a 1-point lead and now you have to win or lose on this next possession. So just bad court awareness and bad judgment on Giannis's part, and maybe Doc did tell him contest without fouling, but maybe Giannis just thought, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to get that. And either way, again, just bad judgment and not good court awareness, and showing the heck not what you want. Late game situations, you thrive for these moments. You should thrive on these moments. You should live for these moments and make your name on it. You should make mistakes like that, especially when you're in the thick of these playoff standings, and now you're tied at that 4th seed with Indiana, and you have a shot to lose home court because of this move. It's just bad court awareness. Looking forward to tonight, we have a game I'm really looking forward to, really excited about. We have Oklahoma in Boston. It is in Boston. It's going to be a big game. I'm expecting Boston, like I've spoke on, to get up for this game like they do against these upper echelon teams. Expecting them come out and kind of show the Thunder that, hey, this is still our yard. You have to beat us to make a name for yourself. Then on the other hand, if I'm Oklahoma, or what I'm expecting from Oklahoma is they're going to come out and try to prove a point, prove that everyone says we're coming out of the West, try to prove if we come out of the West, if we see Boston, which people are favoring to see Boston, this is what we can do. We can beat Boston. So I think it's going to be a big game. There's a lot to prove for each side, and I'm looking forward to it. But I want to talk about these debates that I'm seeing going through the day, and it's on all these NBA talk shows and stuff like that, about who has more depth. First off, I just want to say this. Cleveland and Oklahoma, in my opinion, have the best depth in the NBA. These teams are playing 10 to 11 each per game and winning games at a very high rate. In my opinion, that counts to have the best depth in the NBA. Just my opinion, but they have guys, both teams have guys that are coming in off the bench and contributing, giving you big minutes and timely buckets and big moments in games and making a difference for games. Okay, when the playoffs come around, those lineups for everyone shrink. You more than likely are not going to see 10 or 11 from Cleveland and Oklahoma from any team. You'll probably see 7 to 8, if you're being wild and crazy, maybe 9 lineup, because the lineups really shrink in the playoffs. You see more if it's a blowout for either side, and the game's over at that point, of course. But either way, you're not going to see that. But to that point, when you're debating who has more depth and this and that, I believe the Thunder have more depth. But if you're debating who has a better starting lineup, I say this, and I honestly believe this. I think the Boston Celtics have the best starting lineup in the NBA. You have guys that know their job, they do their job, they compete, and they've won a championship. These guys as a starting five. So in my opinion, they have the best starting five in the whole league, and it's not really comparable until someone else's starting five wins an NBA championship together. Then maybe you can say that's a starting five, but it depends what the starting five is. But at this point, I don't believe anyone's starting five matches up to Boston. And also, I don't think, and I said this before, no matter who he is, I don't think beating Boston at this point proves you're the number one of the team to beat, because when it's playoff time, Boston's been there and they know how to win. So at that point, it's still Boston's championship to lose, I believe. But Cleveland and Oklahoma, they're sneaking up on Boston, and I could see either team make a run. But out west, I do believe Denver and the Lakers are more dangerous, possibly Golden State, because they have the superstars that have been there and won championships. So out west, I believe Denver, the Lakers, and the Golden State Warriors are more dangerous than the Thunder. But that Thunder team is really good. But if that Thunder team proves they can win and win a championship, then at Western Conference, maybe the Oklahoma City Thunders. That's what we watch and wait and see. But it's something to look forward to. It's something to watch. But yeah, it's going to be it should be a really good game tonight. I'm hoping to see some really good basketball, but it's a game I'm really, really excited about, and I can't wait to check it out. It's on ESPN, so tune in, guys. Now to get to my underperforming teams. Out in the East, I don't really see a lot of teams underperforming besides the Philadelphia 76ers. Every other team, I mean, the Magic, I'll say they've had a lot of injuries this season, and they're not where I thought they were going to take a step forward, and unfortunately took a step back. But at that point, Jalen Suggs, I kind of think he's the heart and soul of that team. He's the guy who gets everyone the ball, who keeps the ball moving. He's been out most of the year. Now at this point, now he's done for the season too. And the ball's just not moving, and it's sticking, and that's not winning basketball, so I can see it. But for the Sixers, even when Embiid, Maxey, and George were playing together, they just weren't good. And it's a group that you're stuck with because of contract situations for a while, so you need to try to figure out and you need to make it work. But they sit at 12th in the Eastern Conference at 22-44. Very unimpressive. And to be honest, at this point, I believe it's time to shut Paul George down and see if you can get health out of him next season and see if you can make a run. And I say you give it one more season with this group, if not break it up. I think you do have to try to give you a fair shot. And I think you leave Paul George out, because I've spoke on this, if it's a lottery pick, it's your draft pick in the first round. If it's not the lottery pick, it's not your draft pick. So I believe it's for 4-6. So you want to give him that top 6, so it's your draft pick. So at this point, I would let George sit out. You won't go in anywhere, and just see what happens. See if you can get a draft pick. See if you can run it back. You should get Jared McCain back next season, as well as Embiid. And he was having a stellar rookie season before he got injured. Probably would have been the rookie of the year before his meniscus tear, but Sixers season's been ridden with injuries, so we didn't see that. But I think you just give it one more year, and if you're still not doing anything around trade deadline next season, maybe start the rebuild next year. But I think you give it one more year. I would angle towards sitting Paul George for the rest of the season at this point. Now I'll move to the West. A couple of teams underperforming right now. The Dallas Mavericks. or 33-33. They've had a lot of injuries. Of course, we know they traded away Luka, and Nico Harris is not liked in Dallas. And you have Anthony Davis, and Davis's first game on the floor, he had a soft tissue injury, a domino strain they called it, and he may be done for the year. We know Kyrie's out for the year for torn ACL. At this point, I think you shut Davis down for the year. I think you need to get out of the play-in, and you need to get a good draft pick, and hopefully maybe find probably won't get a number 1 pick, so you're probably not going to get Cooper Flagg. You're probably well past that at this point. But maybe if you can somehow sneak into the top 5 and just try to get a good draft pick and see if you can find someone to help build and try to build a championship team that will maybe complement Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. A shooting guard would be nice. Possible small forward. You kind of have center and power forward locked up. You don't really need that. But a shooting guard, a small forward that you could build towards the future, that could grow and help you compete for a championship, that would not be bad in the draft. So if I'm Dallas, that's what I'm going towards. Now, another team that I really think's underperformed, I mean, we have the Pelicans. They shaved off elimination last night, but they'll be eliminated soon. The Utah Jazz is eliminated from playoff contention already. That's not really surprising. Washington Wizards, I'm assuming, will be eliminated from playoff contention out east very soon. I just think because the East records are not as good as the West play-in and stuff like that, that they've lasted a little bit longer than Utah, but it's not going to last long. They'll be eliminated soon. But team that's really underperformed is that Phoenix Suns team. I thought getting Tyus Jones, getting a point guard, I thought they were going to take a step forward. Their record's not even as good as it was last year. They sit at 30-35. And they're in danger of missing the play-in, and they're under a Dallas team that doesn't have their stars for the season. So I don't understand how they are this bad, and how a team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, especially those two, is just underperforming like this. But I think it's over. I think they're going to start rebuilding in the summer. We all know and pretty much believe Kevin Durant's gone in the off season. But I think Devin Booker is going to get traded in the offseason. You're hearing rumors that will take 3 draft picks to move him. There's a lot of teams that will give you 3 draft picks for Devin Booker. Devin Booker is still an amazing scorer. Maybe being a leader of a team in Phoenix was not his thing. He did better when Chris Paul was kind of shadowing his leader skills. But being a number 2 to a close to contending team, maybe look at Memphis. Maybe have him as a 2 or 3 with Ja and Jaren Jackson, and if you could somehow keep Desmond Bane too a part of that, that could be an interesting Grizzlies team. Maybe the Houston Rockets. Maybe have him be your number 1 in Houston, but you have Ime Udoka's leadership. That could be interesting and dangerous. So I think now it's time we start looking at this stuff for the Suns, and I think Bradley Beal will stay because he has that no trade clause and he don't want to uproot his family, he said, and he's making $50-some million a year. So I think he's going to stay in Phoenix, but I do think it's time that Booker and Durant move on. But unfortunately for Durant, and this is no insult to him, I think he's an amazing player, one of the best scorers of all time in NBA history. He is not the leader. He is not the guy that, as long as you have him on your team, you have a shot to win. We've seen that. We've seen that with these Phoenix teams the last couple of seasons. We've seen that with that Brooklyn team. That Brooklyn team with him, Kyrie, and James Harden, they should have made some noise, and they were bottom of the league at one point, and then they worked their way to the play-in and then got swept by the Boston Celtics. That's not what you should get out of a team that has Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on it. And it's just being evident that we don't see KD winning unless he has that leader with him, unless he has that debate. It's been debated on who is the leader of that Thunder team, but he still had some vets. He still had guys that were still in the ship, and they say Nick Collis and Kendrick Perkins were the leaders, is what people say. I don't know how true that is, but you also had Russell Westbrook, which we know he's Virgo. Then you look at Golden State, you had Draymond Green. We know how vocal he is. You had Steph Curry. So, I mean, I'm not taking a shot at KD, but he doesn't prove he can win unless he has that other guy leading the team and leading the rest of the group, and you tell him just go out and score. And that's what he does, and that's what he's great at. But you need more than that to win championships. So, I don't know. I think this upcoming season has to be a pivotal season for KD. He has to go somewhere and try to just get that negative, like, that negativity off of his name and off of when they say it's Kevin Durant's team, of how bad they do. And look out for a team like, he's been rumored go to Dallas. Memphis had a lot of interest in him at the trade deadline. Minnesota had a lot of interest in him. Anthony Edwards and KD, that would be interesting. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting offseason, and I think it's going to be a really interesting offseason for those three teams I named. For the Sixers, for the Suns, and for the Dallas Mavericks. So it'll be interesting to see where all those teams go. But yeah, thank you for watching this pod, and I'll see you Friday.